Hey, Kina, how are you?
Hi, Sam. It's good to see you. What are we meeting about today?
Well, I thought we would talk about some of the basics and what we're doing now, actually meeting, discussing, and connecting through video conferencing.
That's great. I know a lot of my fellow employees, customers, and even my friends and families are using this technology. I'm excited to help them get the most out of it because video conferencing really is a good way to get things done and to feel more connected. Where should we start?
Let's start with some of the basics. The video conferencing world, like most things in technology, can be a bit overwhelming and even intimidating. Getting used to connecting like this takes some patience, some trial and error, and definitely a sense of humor. It's not going to work 100% of the time, but if you ask questions, try things out, and keep at it, you'll be successful. First of all, let's talk about some of the vocabulary. You'll hear and learn a bit about how the technology works. What is video conferencing? Video conferencing is a live, video-based meeting between two or more people in different locations using computers, tablets, or phones that have cameras, microphones, and speakers. Video conferencing allows multiple people to meet and collaborate face-to-face long distance by transmitting audio, video, text, and presentations in real time through the internet. There are multiple applications and platforms that provide video conferencing services. Some that you might be familiar with are Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx, BlueJeans, Google Hangout, and FaceTime. Most video conferencing applications have similar features and ways of operating. Also, all of these platforms usually have a variety of meeting types. Let's look at the similarities and differences of some of them. Webinars are usually large meetings. One or more speakers give information and can be seen, heard, and share visual presentations. Attendees cannot be seen but can ask questions either in writing in the chat box, more on that later, or verbally. Webinars are great ways to get information to a lot of people, but they are not very interactive. Meetings are like webinars, but participants and speakers are all together. Everyone can be seen and heard. Because of this, meetings are much better for interaction, planning, discussion, and connecting with people. Meetings are typically smaller than webinars. Hangouts and FaceTime are similar to meetings, but are specific to Google and Apple. Live streaming is a service provided by some of the video conferencing applications. Meetings and webinars can be broadcast to web pages or social media outlets like YouTube or Facebook. This way, anyone can view the speakers. Only presenters will be visible. Live streaming is used for high-interest content or even performances. Here's one last piece of basic information. Because video conferencing happens over the internet, there are some security concerns. Most of the applications have stringent security guards in place. You may have to register and get a passcode, for example, or when you join a meeting, you may be asked to provide identification information. Always check with the host before the meeting if you have any specific security concerns. The videos in this series will provide some tips and hints on how to be a great conferencing participant and get the most from the technology. The tech setup, connection. Devices like computers, tablets, and smartphones get more powerful and easier to use all of the time. So do video conferencing applications, internet speed, and infrastructure. Taking some time to set up your equipment properly will help you have a better video conferencing experience. The basic need for video conferencing meetings to run smoothly is a good and stable internet connection. If you're planning on using a computer or tablet, you can do a speed test before the meeting to be sure you have enough internet download speed. It is recommended that you have between 25 and 50 megabytes per second of download speed. Remember, You need to test the speed in the exact location where you will be attending the meeting. Speed varies by location, even in the same building. If you are using a cell phone to connect, make sure you have at least 2 bars of connectivity in the location where you are attending the meeting. Once you have found a good location, don't move around a lot to keep the connection stable. Once you have checked out the internet in your location, you probably won't need to do it again unless you encounter problems or move to a different location. Some other helpful hints to maximize your connection speed are: be as close to the internet source, router, as possible. If your computer has the ability to connect directly to the internet by cable, do that rather than using wireless internet. If wireless is your option, try to place your computer as close to the router as possible. Don't have multiple users on the same internet network at the same time of the meeting. Notify coworkers, spouses, kids, and even the cat that you will be in a meeting and they should limit their internet use during that time. Definitely ask them not to watch videos, use streaming services like Netflix, or download big documents at the same time you are meeting. If there are problems during the meeting with your internet connection, make sure that you don't have a lot of tabs open on your computer and that you aren't downloading things in the background. Even though it is best practice to keep your video camera on during the meeting or webinar, if you have a sluggish internet connection, you can turn off your camera and participate with audio only. This doesn't take as much bandwidth. If you do this, you will see the presenter and other participants, they just will not see you. The tech setup. Devices. If you are using a computer to attend a video conference, check to see if it has a camera and microphone installed in it. These can usually be found in the control panel or system preferences on your computer. If you are not sure, check out YouTube for hints on enabling your camera or microphone on your specific type of computer. Speakers are a part of the computer, but make sure they are enabled before meeting. Many of the video conference applications let you test microphones, speakers, and cameras before the meeting. Check on individual platforms' websites for information on how to do that. There are also separate web cameras with a microphone that attaches to your computer. These are usually better quality, and if you think you're going to do a lot of meetings or presenting, purchasing one of these is recommended. iPads, other tablets, and smartphones of all types also have cameras, microphones, and speakers. Some of these devices used with video conferencing applications may require you to download an app from the device's app store prior to attending the meeting. These apps are usually free and installed on the device within a few minutes. You can attend a video conference meeting or webinar by telephone also. A telephone number should be provided in the meeting connection information sent to you ahead of time. Dial that number and put in any passcodes requested. You will be able to hear the meeting, but you won't be able to see anybody or any visuals. Also, people won't see you, but they will be able to hear you. Attending by calling in on a phone is audio only. Contact your meeting host for more information. The tech setup. Location. For the best video conferencing experience for you, the presenter, and the attendees, these tips will help you set up your location to maximize interaction and avoid distractions. Remember, in most webinars, you will not be seen, but just heard. Most of these tips are best for meetings where you are seen and heard. First of all, look at the room you are going to be meeting in. Where is the main light source? What time of day is the meeting? Proper lighting is really important when you are on camera. The main light source should be in front of you and not behind you. For example, if you have a desk with a window behind the chair, sit on the opposite side of the desk for the meeting so the light from the window shines on your face. If there are windows behind you, Make sure you close the window coverings and turn on room lights. You may need to bring in a lamp to put in front of you. Next, look at the background you will have behind you during the meeting. Are there distracting items? Remember that you are essentially inviting people into your home or office, so think about what you want them to see. Plain backgrounds are usually the best. Some of the video conferencing apps provide virtual backgrounds. This means you can choose an image from your computer and put it behind you virtually. If you are interested in a virtual background, check the video conferencing provider's webpage for instructions. In addition to lighting, think about sound. In general, don't attend a meeting from a noisy location, like a coffee shop. Find a location that minimizes distractions for both you and also other participants. While you can mute your microphone during a meeting, as a good participant, quiet is important for you to be able to focus on the meeting. As much as possible, also get your colleagues, family members, and even pets to help out. If you are at work, let your colleagues know when you will be in a meeting so they don't interrupt. If you are at home, find a place away from the general traffic areas. Put the dog outside and make sure the kids are taken care of prior to the meeting. You might also want to experiment with headphones and a microphone. This cuts out a lot of background noise and helps other meeting attendees hear what you have to say. It is also a visible reminder to others that you are in a meeting. Before the video conference, the meeting organizer will likely send out a link and instructions for connecting to the meeting ahead of time. If you have questions about how to connect, contact the meeting organizers for assistance. Sometimes, it's even possible to practice connecting to the meeting room to check out your device and internet setup. 5 to 10 minutes before the meeting, follow the instructions for connecting. This way, you will have time to check your setup and get comfortable. When connecting, you might be in a virtual waiting room before the host admits you. When you enter the actual meeting, make sure that you are named correctly. Best practice is using your first and last name unless otherwise instructed. Most applications allow you to rename yourself by hovering over the name in the participant list. Ask your host for help if necessary. If you are in a meeting and can see yourself on screen, check your lighting, background, and camera angle. The camera should be at eye level, and your face and shoulders should take up most of the frame. Look directly at the camera. Don't be too close or too far away, for goodness sakes. Don't let the camera look up your nose. To ensure that you are not too close to the camera, make sure that your head does not hover over the keyboard in front of you. During a video conference. During meetings where you are using your camera, best practice is to keep your camera on so that the presenter and participants can see you. It may feel uncomfortable to be on camera for a long period of time, but the participants and presenter need to see your facial expressions and responses to questions to have an optimal virtual collaboration. As a presenter, it's really hard to talk to a bunch of black boxes, so keep your camera on if at all possible. Tip number 1, about cameras. Remember that you're on camera, and that means that people can see you individually all the time, so be polite. Tip number 2, be aware of what looks good on camera. Chewing usually isn't something that looks good close up, so eat and drink carefully during a meeting if you have to. Also, be careful when adjusting hair and clothing. Remember that webinars usually do not have attendees on camera. Another responsibility of attending a virtual meeting is to be an active listener. Respond to questions, use reaction buttons, make comments in the chat box, and participate in polls because it makes your presence in the meeting important. Most of the time, it is best to avoid doing other work during the meeting. One of the ways to be involved in a virtual meeting is to use the chat box. This is a tool in the video conferencing application where meeting participants can communicate with one another. The presenter may ask a question, for example. You can type your answer in the chat box tool. You can also chat with other participants. Anything you put in the chat box should be appropriate to the topic and respectful of the participants and the presenter. Don't engage in side conversations in the chat box as it is distracting to others. Webinars have chat box or Q&A tools for participants to ask and answer questions also. Keep your microphone muted unless you are verbally answering a question or your host asks you to unmute. This helps everyone focus on the person speaking without a lot of feedback or background noise. There usually is a virtual hand-raising tool if you would like the host to call on you for a comment. You can also physically raise your hand with your camera on to be recognized for comment. Other tools and functions of some of the video conferencing applications are screen share, the ability to share presentations, videos, document views, websites, and other information with meeting participants. This is usually what the presenter uses with a PowerPoint, for example. Whiteboard and annotation. This is what makes it possible to write on a shared screen. Polling. The host may ask you to answer questions in a virtual poll. Breakout rooms. Some applications allow the host to break up a meeting into smaller groups for discussion and then come back together in the larger group. Follow the host's instructions if this is used. Reactions. There may be icons available for you to applaud, give a thumbs up, or cheer on a person. Closed captioning. Most applications have a closed captioning option for those who need it. Check with your host if this is an accommodation you would like. Recording. If a meeting is being recorded, a written or verbal announcement is usually made and/or there is an icon on the screen that will tell you that the meeting is being recorded. Be aware of recording and check with your host if you have questions. After the meeting. At the conclusion of the meeting, add any final comments or goodbyes in the chat box and leave the meeting. There may be a follow-up survey. Video conferencing never takes the place of face-to-face connections. However, it is an efficient way to connect, discuss, and collaborate when necessary, and because of the interactive tools, it is a productive tool for business. The more you attend virtual meetings or webinars, the more comfortable you will be with this powerful technology.
I definitely will share this information with everyone I can. They should all know about this. Thank you.
Anytime, Kina. Have a great rest of your day and we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.